Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga. G'day, Shenna and
Cześć.
I'm AJ. This is Uga Chaka. Welcome back to Sweden. This is part 2 of the assembly of the Romet Ogar 202. In part 1, we started piecing it together. We went through the assembly instructions, which are pretty basic and probably made the easy more complex, but nonetheless we managed to get through. So we put on the rear shockers, we put on the back rack and a few other things, and finished there just putting on the front wheel with the brakes. So we're now at part 2 and we're going to get stuck into that. So stay with us. And if you're like me and you've got yourself or are thinking about getting yourself a Romet Ogar 202 and you're really not too sure what to expect, you know that online there's very little information in English. It's mainly in Polish and a bit of German, as I've said previously. So this is for all of those English speakers who want to get hold of this fairly iconic Polish bike. It's a little geared 50cc motorcycle, and fingers crossed it's going to go pretty well. So yeah, stay tuned. We're going to get stuck into doing a few things which include the rear brakes and looking at all the way through, I guess, to the battery, and eventually we're going to get it started. So fingers crossed for that. All right, well, let's get stuck into it. I need to attach the brake to the back here, so it needs to slot in here, as you can see, this bit in there. Alright, so again, pretty poor quality here, and there I am in the background, sorry for the reflection, but there's the instruction. Attach the brake lever using the pin. Dumbass here worked it out, of course, eventually. Actually, it didn't take that long. So you just pull apart the component, basically. Take that little nut off the top and take out that bolt here, this one, and then slot it in. Just got to pull that spring back with some pliers and reattach it. Now we're going to go for a deep dive into this little Pandora's box and see what comes flying out at us. We're looking for springs. Lo and behold, there they are. So rear brake spring and sensor, and we're going to attach that. There's the rear brake, which I just put on. As you can see, that follows all the way along to where we just attached before. So we're going to hook that all up in here. Okay, so the spring's on. Basically that was a case of making sure that this was off and out so that I could hook it in. Well, firstly up here, of course, and then hook it in, and then I banged that in and did a job on my finger. So we've got that bit. Now the sensor is being a tricky little bugger. So the image is so bad, it's really hard to work out where that goes in at this point. I'm just thinking it has to be in that same hole that the spring's through, and then that links up to this little thing here, the sensor. So that's going to get our brake light going, I guess. Well, in fact, it wasn't too much of an effort after all. Actually, like most of the things here, once you just throw a bit of elbow grease in there and get a good grip, that's really what it was with the pliers. So I'm hoping that that is all in the right position. Time will tell. So front indicators or turning lights are going to be attached, and I'll just go ahead and do that now. That looks pretty straightforward. Getting these front indicators on means getting down there, and there's a little nut And likewise on the other side. Okay, 24, install handlebar. There's where we need to connect it, obviously. And what we have, these down here, which are going to slot here. Handlebar now on, so that was painless. We're looking much more like a bike now. As you can see, that's pretty much all we need to do. Right grip and throttle installation is next, number 25. So that is all you get on this, so work it out yourself. Having put the handlebar on, there's no way that this is just going to go on. So of course we've got to maneuver the handlebar to get it on and then put the handlebar on. Now obviously what the instructions failed to mention and have in any sort of order was the fact that the right grip, the throttle, had to be placed on the handlebar before the handlebar was mounted. Now that probably stands to reason for most people and those that know what they're doing, but I was just following instructions. I just kind of go through chronologically thinking that they're going to be telling me the right thing. So anyway, we got that sorted. And what I had to do, which was easy enough once I kind of found them, was there's a couple of screws down the bottom there that just need tightening, and that's all in place now, so that's good. And then also the left, which was easy enough. Similarly, I didn't have to move the handlebar, but there were some screws at the bottom, like the right grip, that I found in one of the plastic bags in the box. So there you go, they're now on. Moving right along to number 27. So install front footrest using mounting screws, and here is the piece in question, the front footrest. So out of the bag of tricks of mixed bits and pieces come these screws here with spring washers, which are going to go into there, which in turn goes under here. And now we come to 28. Install gear shift lever. Time for a Swedish fika. So I've got kanelbulle, cinnamon bun and coffee, which is the traditional Swedish. Let's take a break and have a think about this. This cap or cover that goes on this piece here, well, kind of just sits on top, but as you can see, there's a big gap down the side there. It doesn't sit in very snugly at all. So there's that, and then there's the chain cover, which I'm trying to figure out because there's a few things here as well. I'm not sure if you can see it, but down there's that little plastic, where is it? There it is. That little plastic bit there attached to the cover, which looks to me to have to slide in to, can you see it? Yeah, in there. And obviously we don't want any friction there. It needs to be at a good height of separation from the chain. So anyway, I'm going to have a cup of coffee and a bulla and have a think about how I'm going to do that. The chain cover went on easily. Just hoping, of course, that there's enough clearance for the chain, because as you can see there's quite a gap there. But anyway, it seems to be okay and solid enough. Once more, time will tell. Oh, and I just have to say, look at that warning sign. Uwaga, which I gather is Polish. Warning. So there's a whole bunch of little warning stickers on this bike. most of them spelt correctly. Number 32 on the list of things to do here, we've got connecting the fuel pipe to the fuel cock. So I need to get that imprint in my brain and then make it happen on the bike, because that's the only instruction given. So in terms of connecting the fuel pipe to the fuel cock, this is where I do something very Swedish and grab my snus, the general, as I contemplate my next move. So that fuel valve or cock is located on the other side, and it comes through here into this. So the pipe's already connected, and then up into the tank. So there. Getting some clarification on these assembly instructions, because they've got absolutely nothing at all in them in terms of the battery, and all of these connections here, obviously that's got to go on the battery, but we've got to work that out. This as well, and even in the owner's manual or handbook, not too clear. So before I take the next step, let's have a snooze, have a break, and we'll be back soon. Install reflectors. And after that is install the seat. But with the reflectors, this is the image I'm provided with. So again, off we go figure. So getting the seat on is not such a difficult process. Basically in the chassis there, sort of just behind the fuel tank, there's a couple of kind of grooves that the seat slots in under. You're got to push it quite firmly from the back to get it in, and then of course we've just got to line up the bolts down there. So seat, not too difficult, looks pretty comfortable on a cycle built for two. Okay, well, we're getting there. We've now got the rear brake on, and we've got the handlebar on with the grips, and we're flying along at a rapid rate through those assembly instructions, doing it chronologically, and just trying to give you an idea, if you're going to get this bike, of what it's going to be like for you in English. So next, with the assembly, step 3, we're going to look at attaching the muffler. We're going to also look at the battery, and then turn the key and hope for that sweet purring, humming sound of a brand new 50cc motorcycle. So stay tuned for step 3 of the assembly of the Romet Ogar 202.